Hi again everyone, and welcome back to another Scratch tutorial video. In this video we're going to expand on our maze game by adding an enemy sprite. And to do that, I'm going to assume that you already have a maze game built. If you don't, you'll need to go and watch that video first, and I'll put a link to it right now. And once you do, then you should have something that kind of looks like what I have on my screen now. You should have a player sprite with a maze, some code in that player sprite, and you should be ready to go. So to start things off, we need to add what's going to be our enemy sprite. And because my player sprite is a cat, I'm going to choose an enemy sprite that's going to be a dog, just because it kind of seems fitting. With this dog, I'm going to need to shrink it so it doesn't look like it's just giant. So I'm going to do that by changing its size right here. I might set it to something like 40. Alright, so that looks like it kind of fits in the maze now. I'm going to decide that my dog is going to start the game here, because I don't want him to start, right on top of my cat. So I'll have him start here, and I'm going to have him face the cat. To do that, I need to go into this direction where it says direction 90, and I can use this arrow to rotate my dog, but when I do, you'll see he just flips upside down. So that's not ideal. Instead, what we need to do is click this button with the two arrows facing each other. And that way he just flips along the y-axis. So you see he just is either facing left or right, and I'm going to have him face left. Alright, so now let's do some code. We'll start with an event, which is going to be a when the green flag clicked, and then we'll go to control and grab a forever loop. Because we want to make a loop of motion that our dog is just going to do over and over again. And so inside that forever loop, the first thing that I'll want to do is go to my motion tab and grab one of these glide 1 seconds to, and then it has coordinates here. Just like last time, your coordinates are not going to match mine, almost certainly, and that's totally fine. So your coordinates should be whatever your enemy sprite is, in that position where it is. And that's fine. You don't need to type in the ones here. Then what you'll do is you'll click and drag your sprite to where you want it to go next, and add another glide block. And you'll do that as many times as you want for as many glide blocks as you want to get your enemy sprite to move around and through your maze. Now, do you have to add as many as I am? Of course not. But you totally can. And the more you add, the more interesting the path is going to be. So something like this. Now when I press this green flag, my dog will do something like this. And I tried to get it to more or less follow the path, but it's not going to be perfect, and that's fine. If I was going to take, a really long time and make it really, really good looking, then I could have him follow the path in a nice little loop, but for the purposes of this video, you kind of see what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to press my red stop sign here to get him to stop moving. And I'm going to now go back to my cat sprite, my player sprite. Because just like with the walls, we want our player sprite to get sent back to the start of the game if it touches our enemy sprite, our dog right here. So in order to do that, we're going to add to this code. So the when the green flag clicked code right here. And we're going to do basically the same code as this, the if touching color brown, go back to, negative 221.71. So we'll need another if then, and notice that I'm going to put it under the last if then, but still inside that forever loop. Be really careful that you don't put it right here, something like that, inside another if then, because then it will not work. So be sure that you're really careful on where you put it. Then you'll go to this sensing block that says touching mouse pointer, and just put that in the diamond there. And just like before, that diamond will expand to whatever size block you put in it. Now, we don't really want it to be touching the mouse pointer, we want it to be touching the dog. So I'm going to click this drop down arrow and pick the name of my enemy sprite, which in this case is dog1. And we can see the name of the sprite right here. Okay, so if it touches that enemy sprite, I want it to go back to the start of the maze. We already have the code for the go to start of the maze, which is this go to X. So I'm just going to duplicate that make an exact copy of that block, put it right down here. So now, when I press my green flag, I'm going to just cheat and move my cat over here, and when my dog touches it, it goes back to the start of the maze. Now, if you are experimenting with your maze and you find that it's too hard because your sprite is moving too fast, you can always go here and change the number of seconds it takes for your sprite to get places. So if I change all these 1s to 2s, it will take the sprite twice as long to move through the path, because it'll take 2 seconds for each loop. And sometimes that can give you enough time to kind of move around it or to avoid it or whatever. Similarly, if your game is too easy, you can make the sprite faster by changing it to something like 0.5 seconds. If I do that, if you're patient with me for just a second while I type and talk at the same time, I can actually make my sprite move pretty quickly. And this can make it actually impossible to win the game if you have it moving too fast. So you have to be a little bit careful and test your game thoroughly to make sure that you're not going to frustrate players with a game that they can't win, even if they're really good. So that's how to add an enemy sprite to your maze game. You can, of course, add more than one enemy, just using the same procedure here. Just again, make sure that your game can still be won, even if you add more than one enemy. So we'll do one more video with the maze game on how to add an extra level, and then we will be wrapped up with that maze game and we'll move on to something else. So thanks for watching this video, and have fun.